welcome to the VDL Season 5 Week 2 Power Rankings video. I'm Sakimoto24 and I have with me, per usual, the Goomer22. So we're going to hop into what happened this week.
Hello.
Yep, there's the Goom. And we're going to hop into the games that happened this week and talk about them, talk about where everybody ranks right now. Really awesome start to the season, I will say. I know Goomer, I think, watched all the games. I didn't get to watch quite as many, but we're going to talk about them. And yeah, here we go. So, first match at the top. And actually, I'm going to talk about at the left first. We have our kill leaders here. Goomer, you want to talk about those?
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty surprising. We've got Tapu Fini, who is more defensively built. It's base stats, but it's been putting in work for the Sableyes. Although they haven't got a win, they've got plenty of kills with this Tapu Fini. Hopefully they can squeak out one of these matches. But so far, doing well there. And then the Kildare Crocodiles have this Dugtrio Alola paired next to the original form in third place, Rebellion's original Dugtrio, which I just think is wild that we've got two Dugtrios on the in the top three of the kill leaders on week 2 for this Series 10 draft league. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I guess Dugtrio is surprisingly strong in Series 10. Finny and the Trios. New favorite band.
Penny and the Trios.
Finny's my bane. All right. Well, congrats to kill leaders so far. Let's see if it fluctuates or if Finny sits up at number 1. So first match we'll talk about here at the top.
Yeah, I think there's a.
What's that?
I was gonna say I think there's a lot of other Mons around this 5 or 6 range itching to jump up there, but I wonder too if it'll be. I feel like the kills will be a lot more spread out without Dynamax.
Yeah, I would expect to be honest. Just because Pokemon that typically like you'd never bring as an offensive Pokemon work as offensively now, just because you don't have to have like Max Airstream or it'd be a Dynamax threat. So, like Dugtrio. So
right.
Prime example. So, first match we're going to talk about is, well, it's mine. I played against Dilfu, who first glance had no fake out, and I don't think he has a fairy type either. And I was very excited to go against him because I thought it was going to be easy to flowchart for, but prepping was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. He has the Registeel, the Type Null, the Celesteela, very potentially stally and wall type of win conditions he can use. So it was hard to prep for. I think, unfortunately, so I didn't expect the Thunder Punch from the Marowak Alola. That was actually really good against my 2 Marowak counters, which were Milotic and Mandiba. So that actually just totally, that was some great prep against me. And then I think Dilfu actually should have taken game 1, but he did misclick with the Thunder Wave and the Registeel, but I take that because I have to. And then game 2, accidentally timed out, ended up bringing all 6. I hope it didn't throw Dilfu off, but he said it was fine. He said it didn't throw him off. I ended up just taking the top 4 on my team since I like the 4 that I would have timed out with. So, and then Turtonator shell smashed and put in work. So, felt pretty good game 2, but not a super strong win in terms of their overall set because I think I should have lost game 1, but I did feel pretty strong game 2. So, yeah, that felt pretty good. Second match. Or I guess, Goomer, do you have anything to comment about my match with Dilfu?
No, I think you said it perfectly. But I will say that the my rules did the same thing. I didn't have the Series 10 rules after I downloaded them. So I guess people should just check to make sure they have those downloaded. Maybe they wiped them. I don't know. But yeah, I think I'm not sure which rules were selected during your game that allowed you to have all 6. I remember that being a thing sometimes though, where there are some rules that like allow you to take 6 Pokemon, and some will just give you the top 4. So Yeah, it's just easier if you just get the Series 10 rules.
Yep. So I'll remember that for next week. Um, Second match, the Bolton Bashers take on the Waterloo Warriors. What do you have to say about your match, Goomer?
Yeah, this was. Did you get to watch it?
I can't even remember. I don't even. No, actually, no, I did not. I did not watch it. My own brother. I
Well,
ignored him.
it was it was a pretty intense match, but quite the tough technical difficulties. Um, I my capture card broke during the third game. Um, and then oh, he also disconnected game two, and it was on the third or fourth turn, so we just recreated it. Um we didn't recreate it perfectly. His Escavalier crit my Scyther with an Iron Head, but it didn't kill it, and I don't think it mattered. But but other than that, yeah, we pretty much just recreated it and thankfully got that through. But yes, lots of technical difficulties. Um, Anyways, the matchup is really scary. He's got Psychic Terrain and Urshifu, so prepped a lot for Urshifu. He didn't bring it though. Leaned a little bit more into the Trick Room mode, which I did. I was also concerned about the Trick Room mode. Scavalier extremely strong. The Life Orb Drill Run able to just one shot Entei, so really scary. Um, so game one, he went with the Psychic Terrain mode, which I was prepped for, and able to win fairly well. Game two, he went with the Trick Room mode, and he it kind of worked me. And then uh, game three, um, game three was really interesting. Came down to the wire, so I'm really sad that the capture card died. But anyways, I think game three, he uh, he actually made a really good play. Um, Except I got kind of lucky in how I targeted his mons. So the scenario was Trick Room had only one turn left, and it was a Scavalier and a Aromatisse, and the Warriors swapped out a Scavalier for their Choice Scarf Zoroark, which I had Latias on the field, and it would have been able to one shot the Latias next turn. And the only way I was going to stop Trick Room from going up was if I doubled it with Entei and Latias. And so if he's able to take out my Latias, then he's able to get a free Trick Room up, and it's pretty much GG. But I Sacred Fired into the Aromatisse and Mystical Fired into the Scavalier slot that turn. And so when he swapped to Zoroark, he got a special attack drop from the Mystical Fire, meaning he wouldn't be able to take out Latias with a Night Daze. So I got a little bit lucky on that play. I very well could have done the reverse. I could have Mystical Fired the Aromatisse and Sacred Fired the Escavalier, but I just happened to do it that way. So it was a pretty lucky play on my part, and then I was able to squeak out the win 1-0 on the Warriors. So um um I got the win. Didn't feel great about it, but hey, we'll take them.
All right. Next game, Crushing Sylvalis versus the Conway Embors. Conway Embors take this one 2-1. I believe I did watch this game, but it was a while ago, and I don't remember all of it. I
This
feel
one was the one where it was the Coco and like the Noivern and Landorus versus the Raichu and Crustle, and
okay.
it had the Embors brought Prismberry Crustle. They could swagger the Crustle and then um, get to +2, which I thought was really cool. Um, a really intense set of games though. Um, and I know the Savalis had mentioned it, that the third game, basically, if they had Protect on Noivern, um, they would have potentially been able to clutch up the game because they got into a tough position when the Embors, they didn't bring Rillaboom the first two games, but they brought it in the back the third game. And then they were able to um, fake out and um, and ice beam, I believe, the Noivern. Ice beam or icy wind. But anyways, they were able to put pressure on with the fake out, and had the Sylvalis been able to just kind of stall that fake out turnout with a protect, I think they would have been looking pretty good. Um, and so, it just goes back to what Otto said. Protect is necessary on any mon that's not choiced or assault vest. But I mean, you don't have to do that, but it is a pretty good rule for the series, I think. Protect is just useful in so many situations.
So congrats to the
But
Embors. Um,
yeah, there was some really nice. This was probably the best set this week, I think, though. There was some really good
there were some good
reads and plays. Like
sets.
I think one time the Sylvalis chose to Dazzling Gleam with Coco for the Raichu switch in. Um, and I'm trying to think of some of the other good plays during that match. But it was such a good set. And I really don't think so. I don't think that the loss, like, I don't think the loss really hurts the Silvalis that much, showing how good they played against the Embors. Like, I think both players played really well. So the Embors a little bit more, uh, they get a little bit more in terms of like the PR for actually getting the win. But the Silvalis played almost just as well. They were right there. So that was a really good set.
So this next set I thought was really cool. The McChesney Park Slowpokes versus the Hidden Leaf Grimmsnarls. First of all, the Grimmsnarls, great video. Just like good. I like how you made your video. I don't know, good energy. Um, Very enjoyable to watch. Uh, it was really interesting because this is the Slowpokes have the Gigas and Wheezing, correct? I think they
Yeah.
do. So, and that's an interesting combo to have in this series because, like, Dynamax and Gigas just makes him look so much stronger, and you can launch off max strikes instead of having to use Giga Impact. But I thought the set he brought was really interesting. The eject button on the Gigas was super cool. I didn't even think about that as a possibility when I saw it come out. I thought that was really nice because he could Giga Impact. Hopefully being the fastest mon, and then take a hit, and then just eject out and come back in for another massive Giga Impact. Super awesome. Unfortunate that he ended up switching out the coughing when it was getting essentially doubled in that slot, and then he just kind of sacrifices Ninetales, and it wasn't able to set up the Aurora Veil or anything. If that's what the plan was, really hard team to use, but I like how he used it because like coughing's super good with wheezing, obviously, but then again, he had the Arctozolt and the Ninetales, which so heavily rely on their ability, so it's really awkward and hard to use. So props to him for using that team. But the Grimmsnarls came out on top with the 2-0, and I really like how they played. I mean, the Assault Vest Gigalith, we've seen it. I know Calopsia likes seeing that. The Assault Vest Gigalith is just vicious. It's just so hard to take down, and I just think it just seemed like he had control for the both games for the most part, if I'm remembering correctly. It just seemed like he always had a plan of how to kind of keep the pressure on, and just really well done. Any comments?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I have a slightly different take. I mean, I do think the I do think the Gigas, like, the set was really cool and stuff, but um I just don't think it's uh I think both times the Slowpokes have tried to use the Gigas coughing, it really hasn't worked out. So I'm interested to see if it does work out this season. Like, I was a little bit I thought it might work, at the beginning of the season, but I'm beginning to be less. I'm getting more skeptical of it, basically. Um, as it goes on, just because I feel like it doesn't nearly put on as much pressure it did during Dynamax, obviously. And again, you don't even have a wheezing, you have a coughing. So um, it just makes it a little tougher, I think. Um, I do think the Giga Impact was interesting with the eject button. I know that I think the first turn they like Giga impacted the Mantine. I don't know what else moves they were running on the Gigas. A Thunder Punch would have done well too. But it also didn't seem like the Slowpokes really brought a good answer for Gigalith. Like Gigalith kind of hard checks the ice mode, but
Mm-hmm.
they still went with the ice mode. So that was interesting for me. I guess maybe the thought was just like burn it with coughing and then just hope it doesn't do as much damage. Um, but it ruins the weather and it gives it more special D, and I mean rock is just super effective against ice. So it's I thought that was odd that they brought the ice mode, seeing the Gigalith there. Um, so I don't know. I mean, yeah, like you said though, the Grimmsnarls they played well. They put good pressure on, and
Yeah, they had a plan.
they had a plan. Yeah, so props to the Grimmsnarls for fighting back after week one, um, and getting the win here.
So next match is Rebellion versus Northampton Celesteals. Wombles, poor Celesteals. They take Rebellion takes a 2-0 over them, and Lucian's been saying this is his season, and he hasn't let us down yet.
I think the thing about this week, and I wonder if we'll notice this more, is I think in this week, I think there was a lot of games that people took that could have very, very easily gone the other way. I think you said you had one of them like that. I definitely had one like that. Um, uh, and I think Rebellion definitely had one like that too. So game one was a pretty clean win, I would say. I mean, it wasn't clean in terms of there was still a little bit that went on. Like he got a couple accuracy drops on the with Muddy Water on the Gothitelle, and then he got one on the Neoleg Grass Knot. But if you watch the game, like Womble didn't really have a water resist that game, and so Rebellion was able to just go rain mode, throw off Muddy Waters, and just keep hitting it hard. Um, so I feel like game one was, I mean, it still would have been possible potentially for Womble, but maybe with a Muddy Water miss here or there, but I don't think like the Shadow Ball miss from Gothitelle or the Grass Knot miss from Neolego mattered too much in game one. Um, I think what mattered more was so game two, Rebellion went with a similar plan, right? But this time Womble brought his water resist, Tapu Bulu. Um, and it was assault vested. And Tapu Bulu is pretty bulky. So even the Life Orb Sludge Bomb from Seismitoad, 4 times super effective, that's not killing an assault vest Tapu Bulu. But he gets the critical hit. And um, so yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have killed. Lulu would have gotten a horn leech off, healed up a ton. I mean, Womble would have been sitting in really good position game two. He almost brought it back too. Um, but I think without the Bulu, it was just hard to get that offensive pressure. He was just kind of snarling with the Lipard and trying to get momentum, but it was tough just losing that Bulu turn one. So I think Womble probably should have won game one in most or game two in most scenarios, and then who knows what would have happened in game three. But um, I mean, ultimately, hey, Rebellion got the win. They um, and so that's another loss for Womble here. But I'm still confident that Womble will be able to get some wins here this season and bring it back. He's got a solid team.
Yeah, we know what Womble can do. We know he can come back. Um, I actually didn't watch that set, but that sounded really interesting. Um, but this next set I did watch. I did watch the Massachusetts Manitans versus the Tokyo Terrace, and I thought this was it was a fantastic set to watch because it was from the Manitans' perspective, and I really like people that prep and play for a 3-game series, and that's exactly what he did, and I'll explain what that means, I guess. So, first of all, Tokyo Terrors are only newcomer to win week 1. Goes up against another vet. Almost wins, but loses 2-1. So essentially what happened is the Tokyo Terrors took game 1. The Manitans, I forget exactly what happened in game 1, but the Tokyo Terrors had this nice Zergatry with discharge next to a Lightning Rod Pikachu strategy. And it was a really nice upfront pressure. And even with the Mudsdale coming in there and just immuning all the electric damage, the Pikachu was getting special attack boosts and had Grass Knot. So it was chunking that. I mean, it was doing like 2/3 of Mudsdale's health, which is such a nice tech. And I think the Zergatry was scarfed, and I think it had Electro Web as well or whatever. I don't know. I really like that type of lead. It was really interesting. I don't remember if the Pikachu had Fake Out, but that could also have been something that was interesting. Just a really nice lead. But after kind of the Manitans were able to, they tried to like slow down the game and took out the Pikachu. They just couldn't quite pull off game 1. Game 2, it was a similar situation, but they end up pulling it out. And then, and here's what I mean by he played for a game 3 is he figured out enough information, the Manitans did, from their opponent to know that a Torkoal Maractus lead was going to be safe. And then they led that, and it did work. So, and that's what I really like. He didn't lead that the entire, I don't think either of them, the first 2 games, and then he figured out enough information to say, hey, this lead actually looks really good now. I was too risky to lead game 1, but now that I know this other information, I can lead this, and it'll look really, really nice. He double protects in case the Pikachu has a Fake Out, and then the next turn he goes for the Eruption, does a ton of damage. And then the Maractus ends up putting in some work with Weather Ball, and I think it had Giga Drain. But just really well played and well managed by the Manitans. And honestly, the Tokyo Terrors, they really didn't play bad. They had that Glacier, I think an unfortunate switch in. There was one time where I think he switched out Zergatry and he switched in, I think the Manitans were trying to make a read that they'd switch in Glacier, so they went for the Weather Ball. And I was wondering why didn't they go for Giga Drain? But I think they were expecting the Glacier switch in when that would have been a huge read. But it was the slow bros or the slow king. So if they had made that read with the Giga Drain, that would have been insane too. But either way, Maractus, like seeing Maractus do some work with the after you eruption stuff with Torkoal. But well played by the Manitans. Anything to add, Goomer?
No, I agree. The after you eruption stuff was really cool. I liked that. I had no idea that Maractus got after you.
I did not either, and I'm glad I learned that because I play the Manitans next week. So, I gotta watch out because. But I hope he's well prepped for Choice Band of Rangaroo though. So watch out. Next set. I did not watch Luxrays versus Pretzels, but I heard it came down to the wire.
It did. So this was another game where we saw a discharge strat actually. Gumi and the Rolled Gold Pretzels bringing out a really really powerful strat here with the Crocodile Thunderous lead. And then they were able to go for Discharge and Earthquake under the Thunderous Therian. And Thunderous Therian has like 145 special attack. So those discharges hurt. And so game 1 looked pretty good for Gumi. I know the Luxrays brought Sableye and they went for a Fake Out, and then they went for a Rain Dance, I think, to increase their snipe shots, but I think Quash on the Thunderous Therian might have been a better move there, and possibly just try to crit it with the snipe shot and get rid of it. But then, yeah, with Clefable in the back and that Follow Me to redirect. It was also, I believe, the Poison Berry. I forget what that one is. Kasib? No.
I think, no, that's Ghost. I don't know.
That's Ghost.
Yeah, that's a Ghost Berry.
Kibia. I think it might be a
I think it
Kibia
is
berry or
Kibia. Yeah, I
something
think
like
it
that.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Clefable was running that berry for the Dragalge, um, which was nice. Um, and so I forget exactly what happened the rest of game one, but it was I think it was more solid in Gumi's favor. But then game two, um, well, yeah, and then in game two, it came down to a um, an interesting endgame with Dragalge and Inteleon versus um, Cinderace and Clefable. And what's nice about the Inteleon's a really cool check to the Cinderace because it can avoid the follow me Clefable and just go for those snipe shots. The issue is that Cinderace can switch from fire type before it even gets hit by the Inteleon by using Sucker Punch. And two Sucker Punches will normally take out an Inteleon. Um, and so what happened is, and the Inteleon was Scope Lens. I think it may have used Snipe Shot like 3 times during this set and never got a crit. And I think if any of those crit, it would have put the Luxrays in a pretty good position, especially that game two. If he gets that 50% chance crit with the Sniper Inteleon and takes out the Cinderace, I think the Dragalge can beat the Clefable from there potentially because it had already wasted its berry, I think. So that's that's tough, about using those crit strategies with Inteleon. Sometimes you get the crits, sometimes you don't. But Gumi came well prepped here with this interesting Disquake strats. We saw that week one from Lucian, with his Zapdos and Doug Trio, and so pretty interesting that a couple of teams have that option here. We saw the Discharge um, Circuitry, like you said.
Yeah, discharge is a nice move. It's just too. It's too risky to use when it actually hits your own Pokemon because like the power and then the paralysis chance, it could just hacks yourself. So, but no,
True.
it's really nice when it can be set up like that. Anything more about the match?
No, nothing more on that.
All right. Well, congrats to the Pretzels. Next game, we don't know the score, so we don't have much to say about the Bladeskins versus the Irish Incineroars, except for that I'm guessing one of them won and one of them lost. I would say that's pretty fair. Unless they had a tie.
I would assume it could have been a tie. They could have had the same HP percentage on a timeout. They could have had a draw.
You never know. But then, okay, so our next match after that, I guess we'll skip ahead to Sting Like a Rabombi versus Vikak and his Aussie Arcanides. Vikak doesn't come through for Team Voltage. I'm so sad. But I like seeing the Mono Poison get a win, though. The 2-0, our number 24 Week 0 power ranking team. Another 2-0 and is 2-0 on the season now. So, you're moving up in the rankings. People aren't going to underestimate you anymore, Batista. So, we'll see. Really nice job. I didn't see. I only saw like the very beginning of the match, so.
Yeah, this one, this we had some more technical difficulties during this one. Lots of that this week. But yeah, I will say good win for Batista, and I think we had to rank him 24th, like objectively the first week, even though I'd say this isn't that much of a surprise based on how he played last season. We know he's a good player, so 2 wins off the bat. I don't want to undersell the fact that he's doing it with Mono Poison, but it's no surprise from Batista. So that's props to him, and hopefully he can keep it going, especially when he faces Gumi. But this game, basically, he identified that his Trick Room mode was pretty good against the Arcanines, and the Arcanines just brought. Well, actually, the Arcanines had a really good tech. Actually, they had Screech Regieleki and Zen Hudbutt Cobalion. So that just took out the Amoonguss right off the bat. But the problem was it let the Rabombes get up Trick Room with Slowking, and it was Life Orb. And Life Orb, Slowking, and Weezing were able to just put on a ton of pressure against the Arcanines, and the Arcanines just didn't have the bulk or defensive options to stall out the Trick Room. I think both games may have ended in Trick Room. Um, so the Slowking just constantly able to put on pressure, and uh, Weezing spread Dazzling Gleam with Pixie Plate, doing a lot of work. Yeah, I don't even think he ever had to use the Skunk Tank either game. So, um, yeah, I think the Arcanines either just needed to deny that Trick Room, or um, possibly just you know play a little more defensive and stall out that Trick Room better. But with what they brought, I think it made it difficult. So, game one and two, they brought the exact same Mons. I think maybe they should have switched it up, or brought some different modes, since it didn't work game one.
It seems like Trick Room and Tailwind are proving to be very, very powerful because you don't. Well, in draft, like not all of your Pokemon are top tier Pokemon that can one shot, and then I mean you have. There are many ways you can go about dealing with Trick Room. You can stall it out. You can, which is useful when you're able to Dynamax, or you can, like a way to deter it is just to set up a way to one shot the Trick Room setter, and Dynamax makes it a lot easier. So, setting up Trick Room and Tailwind, you got those 4 or 5 turns. It just seems like forever that you have to deal with no, a lack of speed control if your opponent sets it up. And so, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Um, our next set, I want to watch this set, but I didn't even watch it either. The Toots and the Suffolk Suicune take down the Killer Crocodiles 2-1 in the set. Goomer, what happened?
Yeah, this one was this one was a really good set also. And like we said, like with my game and your game, like we maybe could have lost those, and we could kind of identify the turns that we could have lost them. I think that this was definitely another game of that. The Crocodiles. I did watch this. It was a while ago, but um, the Crocodiles, if I remember, like we're just able to their rain mode did put on a good amount of pressure for the Suicunes because the Ludicolo, um, obviously matches up well into the Suicune. But actually, game one, the Dugtrio Alola got 3 kills, and I think that was on I think it Rock Slide the Moltres. I know it had Rock Slide, and I think that might have also taken out the Whimsicott, and then maybe just a ground move for the Manectric. Um, but the Pelipper, I think, was able to set up Tailwind to match Whimsicott's Tailwind as well. So that made Tailwind not as useful, um, because then their speeds are just matched. And then Dugtrio Lola is going to be the fastest thing out there and put on a lot of pressure. I think it made it tough too because the Suicunes didn't bring an attacking move on Whimsicott. Now they didn't reveal that game one, but game two, they actually did reveal all 4 of their moves, and sometimes it is hard to keep track of that. But the Dugtrio Lola had Sucker Punch, and it came down to a situation where it was just Whimsicott and Moltres game two, and Moltres was pretty low HP, and so all Dugtrio had to do was keep sucker punching the Moltres, and whenever once Moltres attacks, it's gone, and then Toots doesn't have any more pressure. But Toots made the really risky. I mean, it was the only play he had basically, but he made the risky play of um, fake tearsing the Ludicolo to put it at -4, and going for a Heat Wave in the sun with Moltres. which got a double KO on the Doug Trio Alola and the Ludicolo, because the Doug Trio Alola went for an Iron Head in Whimsicott. So it's, I mean, it does help to take notes during the match if you can, or to just, you know, try to keep that stuff in mind. But especially with prankster mods, you won't see it very often, on any, but sometimes with prankster mods, you can occasionally get away with not running an attacking move, but that can burn you. And we saw that in my game against the Sovalis week one, who didn't have an attacking move on their Meowstic, and so I kind of made. I hadn't seen all four moves, and I just had to make a guess and just hope that they didn't have an attacking move. Took out all the other mons. So if the Crocodiles had recognized that game two, they would have cleaned this up 2-0. But then it put it to a game three, and Toots had his strategy now. He dropped the Suicune for Lycanroc Midnight, and just focused on getting those sunny days, and having Moltres um, throw off some heat waves. So I don't think a rock slide from Doug Lola took it out. So I don't think he was as scared of that. And then yeah, he just adjusted his game plan and was able to pick up that third game because of a misplay from the Crocodiles game too. So props to Toots for clutching that out. And you know what? At the end of the day, a win's a win. So Toots got it.
Congrats. Um, our next game, the Norwegian Darmanitans, the previously number one ranked team for the power rankings, took on the Bristol Bewares. Did you watch this game?
They Yes, they got it. They did get a 2-0. I just copied the page before it was submitted,
Okay.
but yeah, the Darmanitans and the Bewares. Um, Let me check the. I'll remember it once I just check the
So
battle report real quick.
I remember, I know game. So, um, I remember game two. The Darmanitans led with Tapu Lele and the Slurpuff, which is really nice against the Incineroar and the Liepard. Yeah, because both games the Bewares led Incineroar.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, so no, game one they led Incineroar Liepard into Regirock and Gothorita, and so I didn't actually see Gothorita's moveset, but I know it went for the Trick Room. Smartly, I think he didn't go for the Fake Out because he knows that both the mons it's going up against. I think outspeeded, and Fake Out's almost useless to even go for, or to even run. To be honest. But it goes for the Trick Room, but it gets doubled by a Gunk Shot from the Liepard and then a Darkest Lair from the Incineroar, which does a ton. I think it was very much a heavily offensive Incineroar. We also saw it revealed Iron Head later, so it was more of a coverage offensive Incineroar, which I like. It's a mix-up from the typical 5 moves that are run on Incineroar and VGC. So they double the Gothorita, don't let it get up Trick Room, but then the Regirock gets a Curse Up, and it's extremely defensive. And then what was beautiful is Calopsy and the Darmanitans, they throw out Starmie. He's threatening the Incineroar with a water move. So, the Bewares switch out the Liepard to the Gastrodon to take the water move, but, Calopsy is prepared, and he goes for the Meteor Beam and to take out the Incineroar. And that was probably the play that won him game one. So, and then just being super defensive, that Regirock was just really annoying. And that pretty much won in game one. And then he just played really, really well game two. The Slurpuff got taken down by that Iron Head from the Incineroar, but the Tapu Lele was able to set up a Calm Mind at the beginning and have some really nice protects because it knew it had pressure, and then the Tapu Lele just put in work when it needed to. So just great positioning and just some great tech and great reads. All around really well. Really good gameplay from the Darmanitans, but honestly, the Bewares did not play bad by any means. I mean, I thought the Incineroar set was pretty cool. They had double weather, I think, with the Liepard, was it? I think they had double weather.
I think so. I think they had Rain Dance and Sunny Day. But I was really. I mean, I understand. I understand the Gunk Shot for the Lele and the Slurpuff, but it was still kind of interesting to me. I don't know.
I liked it. Go big or go home. but just
Yeah.
wasn't enough. Um, the I don't know. The Darmanians just had a lot of power, like, and they were kind of one shotting. Like they were both just kind of throwing off moves and protecting when they needed to, and just it was very offensive games. It seemed like, but the Darmanians just had more power. I mean, they just protected the Urshifu at the end of game 2 to avoid the air slash from Latios. Is it Latios? Latios, and then
Gallios. Yep.
yeah, and then the Moonblast from the Lele just smokes the Latios. So it just I don't know, and it was able to take an Iron Head from the Incineroar, I believe. Or it was still able to take some move. I don't know. They just had just outpowered the Bewares a little bit. So, well done. Did you watch this final match, Slowbros versus Sableye? I bet it was a good match. I didn't see it though.
It was. The Slowbros were able to use the Blaziken, and Blaziken with Speed Boost is really good in this format, I think. And so they were able to use Blaziken, and actually, I just had the battle report up. So I watched this one a little bit ago, but I'll remember once I see the battle report real quick. Oh yeah, so game 1 they led Indeedee and Blaziken. So, and then the Sableye led the Finny Thievul combo. And they actually made a good read turn 1 that the Blaziken was going to protect. And so the Sableye fake tears the Indeedee, and then threw off a Dazzling Gleam. And the Finny was at Specs, which I thought was interesting that they chose to go for Dazzling Gleam because Muddy Water, it hits Blaziken for super effective, and I guess maybe they just didn't want to go with the a less accurate move if they're going to be spexed into it. I don't know, because they also had Scald, but Scald you can get redirected by the Indeedee, so yeah, that was interesting. And turn 2, they swapped out the Finny for Togedemaru when Blaziken went for a Poison Jab, so that was a good switch. And then the Thievul, I think, went for a Dark Pulse to take out the Indeedee. But then the Slowbros put in Jolteon, and after after 3 speed boosts with Blaziken, it outspeeds the Thievul. And once the Slowbros got that speed advantage, they were able to just put on a ton of pressure, and especially with Scarf Primarina in the back as well. Scarf Primarina really threw off the Sableye, and I mean you can't always predict that too. But yeah, so Slowbros, it seemed like they came in with a game plan. They executed the game plan well, and got that first game 1 win. Then they recognized that Indeedee really wasn't doing much for them, so they went with the Bisharp. And then the Sableye still went with the Thievul Finny, and I think could have actually brought this game back. So the Slowbros went with the Blaziken again, paired next to Bisharp. They go with the Protect with Blaziken, and then the Sableye just double the Bisharp right away with Thievul Finny. So able to take it out, and then I thought they were in decent position there. Except for turn 2, they swapped out the Finny for the Wheezing, I believe. I believe it was turn 2. There was a turn that the Finny swapped out right after a Protect from the Blaziken. Oh yes, I think it was turn 2. Because I was wondering, since the Blaziken just protected it, it wouldn't be able to protect a second time. So the Finny could have just gone for a Spec Scald into the Blaziken. But he wanted to play more defensive, I think, because he was scared of the Jolteon. But since Thievul was still faster with Unburden, I think Thievul could have snarled potentially, and then I guess the Blazikens could have Otto could have doubled the Finny, and so then and definitely taken it out, but he didn't, and so since he didn't, the Sableye could have gone for that risky scald play. But after that, I think they kept trying to get switch and get positioning, and the slow bros just put on too much pressure, and then it was left with Finney and Gorge guys in endgame, and Gorge guys just wins that because I think the Finney was locked in a dazzling gleam, which wasn't doing too much. Um, so I mean, not a bad game by the Stabilized for sure. I think the Slow Bros, they're a really strong player, and um, they just played well, just like the auto we know. So um, solid game there.
Well, that wraps up all of the week 2 matches. So now we're going to move on to our top 24. Or I guess, well, you're all in the top 24, so
Before we move on,
Huh?
what was your favorite tech from this week?
Favorite tech from this week? It's hard to say because I think some are more useful than the others, but some are a little sneakier. Favorite tech from this week? Man, I did really like the eject button Gigas. I'm gonna be honest. I did really like it.
That's interesting. No, I think that's really interesting.
I didn't watch all the games, so um,
So,
yeah.
well, at game one of my game, um, the Warriors actually. So I brought Scyther, and I protected Scyther game one against his psychic mode. But he actually went for the fake out with Ndidi Mail under psychic drain because Scyther's flying type, and so it can be faked out. So I thought that was a really
Oh
cool tech by the
yeah.
Warriors because most of the time, yeah, most of the time you wouldn't think of running fake out on Ndidi because the psychic drain just prevents it, but during against levitate and flying mons, you can freely fake them out. So um, I thought that was cool. The after you eruption was cool.
Yeah, that was
Um,
probably the most useful tech,
I think
honestly. But
I think the Screech Regieleki was cool too. Using it a little more utility rather than just straight offense. Um, I think there was one more I was thinking
I
of that
did
was
like the
pretty cool
grass type
too.
Pikachu.
Yeah, the discharge stuff was interesting. I don't know. Um, I think all those were pretty cool.
Yep.
So,
Alrighty,
all
your 24 teams in order. Here they are. At the bottom, soon to be much higher. Kildare Crocodiles. Um, they've shown that they could play. They're not getting smoked by any means, and I think that's why I'm just gonna say this season has been like such a competitive season, at least so far. Um, I've played in like I remember seeing matches in previous seasons and in other leagues as well, but also this league where there are some competitors that just seem like they just don't stand a chance. I mean, and they're just getting like, and there's like a very there's a sort of a large gap between some of the top players and some of the bottom players, and that's not what this season feels like at all. This seems extremely competitive, and like there's not a match I go into at least where I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, this should be a pretty simple matchup. Like every match seems intense, and I don't know. I just want to say that because it seems really competitive. I'm really excited. But 24 killed our crocodiles. Um, 23 we got Dilfu, which actually should have taken a game off me. So I feel like he should be a little higher and I should be a little lower. But this is how they are. Um, Chesney Park Slowpokes 22. Um, anything to say about the kind of this bottom row, Goomer? Before I kind of just steamroll through
I would
these.
say this. I mean, yeah, we can sort of generalize it and then talk more about like the top 10 potentially, I guess. I mean, the we can talk about some of the big shifts too if we want, but I would say like the bottom row. Um, I don't think any of these teams have wins yet, and um, they there have been some close games for sure. We don't actually know the result of the plays against Incineroars, so who knows? Maybe the Incineroars do have a win. But the yeah, I think we just there have been some close games. They've been very, very close to a victory, but they haven't yet been able to pull it out. So um, once they do, we can start moving them up. But it's a competitive league, so um, you got to bring your all in the prep and the play, and and yeah, I don't know. I mean, in the second row, we've got a few winless teams here and a few teams with wins, some one and ones. But these teams, I think, have a little bit more potential, and I think they've shown a little bit more in their play. You know, in the, for example, like in Womble's game, Womble is 0-2, just like some of the bottom row teams. But I would say that there's defining moments in Womble's games where you can see like something happened, and like the crit on the blue, and it's like you can't control that necessarily, and he probably should have taken a win there, and then been able to go forward since there, and then like again with the Sovalis, they don't have a win yet, ranked number 14th, but we saw them play really really well against the Embors, and could have almost clutched out a win there. Went to 3 games. Sable have gone to 3 games in both of their sets. Um, you know, so um, Luxrays have a win. Grimsnarls have a win. They're 1-1. They've, um, if they can keep getting wins, they can keep climbing. So we'll just have to see. And then, yeah, when we jump into the top 12 here, Tokyo Terrors only ones to get a win off of a vet in week 1, and then barely lost to Chaco game 2. So they're definitely proven themselves to be one of the stronger new players, I would say, this season. And I know you said the Embors maybe brought some of the wrong sets against you, so that makes it a little tough for sure. Um, and then game 2, we saw them play a really, really good game against the Sovalis, who I think are a pretty strong team, and clutch it out. So they're also proven themselves to be one of the stronger new teams. And then the top 10, we've got all vets. You want to talk about some of these?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll hop in and talk a little bit. Rabombe's, number 24 with the mono poison at the week 0, proved themselves. I think they're 4-0 as far as games, I think, and then they're just obviously. But I mean, we know Batista can play. I don't think. I mean, it's hard to play with a mono team, but I feel like mono poison is. He had a plan. He's definitely not just like drafting random poison mons and trying to, he's got a plan and he definitely knows how to play. And I don't think some of the people who play with Batista probably aren't too surprised to necessarily see him winning. It's just, mono teams are hard to win with, but he's doing it. So he might just keep moving up and up and up. Also tied for, in my opinion, the best 3 logos in the league. If I had to choose a top 3 logos, for me, it's Rabombe's, Grimsnarls, Tokyo Terrors. Those are my top 3. What are your top 3?
The Rabombas do have a pretty cool one for sure. I like the I like the Aussie Arcanines. I'm not gonna lie. I like the Aussie Arcanines. I like the Rabombes. And let's see. Um, um, I like that the Darmanitan in Taco's logo doesn't have eyes. It kind of looks creepy.
It looks kind of cool.
It's pretty funny. Yeah.
I like the rolled gold pretzels logo, but only when I'm hungry. So, I'm not very hungry right now, so you're not in the top 3. So, I guess we'll move on. So, number 9, Waterloo Warriors. Played against my guy. I think in my very first draft league ever, I had probably my favorite team I've ever drafted. And I think the only person I lost to in the regular season was my guy. And ever since then, I've been wanting a rematch. I don't think I've gotten the rematch, so I can't remember. Anyway, we know he has a scary team. He did take a loss to you, Goomer, didn't he? Did I have that correct? Yeah.
He did.
So
1-1, yeah.
1-1. Still very strong. And then I think the top 8 teams are all 2-0. So, Rebellion, honestly,
Yes.
isn't he 2-0? Yeah, or honestly, Rebellion could. I mean, we're ranking him 8, but he could be anywhere in the top 8. His team looks extremely strong. He's playing really well. I think he won. I think he won 2-0 this week, but I don't know. Did he win 2-1 week 1? I can't remember.
You won 2-1. Yeah, it was 2-1 the first week.
Gotcha. I think, and then
Only the top 4. Only the top 4 teams are 2-0, 2-0.
Oh, gotcha. Good thing you have the stats. So Toots, always big a fan of Toots gameplay and Suffolk, and I love Sweet Coon. It's probably my favorite legendary dog, but I don't know. I like it. Gosh, they're all cool. Anyways, Toots always is hard to prep against because he knows how to. He just knows how to. I feel like he knows how to flowchart. He knows, like, you're never gonna go up against Toots and lead something that's just gonna roast him. At least that's how I feel. I've always had a hard time playing against him, and I don't know, just a solid player. Squeaked out a win. Did get a little lucky, I believe, this week, but he's played some tough teams and he's pulled out wins, so he deserves to be up here. And number 6, somehow the Bolton Bashers are up here.
Somehow.
I know you've.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's tough. You could, like you said, you could shuffle some of these around. I didn't feel super great about my last win, but I was able to get it against the number 2 team, Warriors, who I think still have a really, really strong team. And I mean, yeah, I've already went to a game 3 here, so I've dropped a game, but able to clutch out the set, and I don't know. Hopefully, I can continue that. I definitely don't think I have the strongest team, but I'm hoping that I can, just prep well and play well, and
yeah. I mean, we can't rank teams really by players, so, especially early on in the season. It's hard to do that, but I mean, obviously, you have one of the best VDL records all time, so, and everybody knows you can. I mean, you only have 2 losses in 2 full seasons, and then this season included. So 2 in I don't know, a little above 2 seasons, you only have 2 losses, both to Otto. Just something that some people who haven't been around for a while. That's a fun fact. So I don't know. I don't think anyone's surprised to see you up this high. And we wouldn't be surprised if you moved into number 3, 2, 1 slot. So. Obviously. But right above you is a team that I thought had a fantastic set this week. They did win 2-1, but they strategized extremely just methodically and just played for the game 3. A really nice set. I'm scared to go against you, but my choice band, Orangaroo, is going to, watch out. And then he's just got a really strong trick room team, and he doesn't have to rely on. I don't know. He's just got a lot of synergy. That just really nice team, really nice gameplay. Number 4, one of the VDL all-time best, Otto, and his specific slow bros. I think Otto was my first loss in the VDL, like week 4 or 5 or something of. Yeah. He knows how to play.
That means he was both of our first losses that season then.
Oh, that's true. Well, obviously, he's your first lot, yeah. Otto! Always good stuff. Everyone knows Otto he's a good player, he's a good drafter, he's a good prepper. So, the trifecta of power in draft. Number 3, Gumi and the rolled gold pretzels. Up here with his deliciously salty pretzels and his nice cup of whatever that is. I'm gonna pretend it's coffee, but sometimes I pretend it's whiskey. Gumi is always a competitor. I just assume he's going to be in at least in the top 7 or 8 every season, if not higher. And he's shown it again that he can draft, he can play, he can prep, he can bring weird sets. He knows how to prep against teams. He knows how to prepare. Gumi's just a competitor. We all know it. Number 2, somehow they're up here. Myself and the Tyrant Tartar Sauces. I felt kind of weird. Put myself at number 2. Goomer thought I should be number 2, and I mean, I felt weird, but I am 2-0 with, I'm 4-0 as far as games go. I feel like I've gotten really lucky, especially with like a misclick and misprep and things like that. I feel like I've gotten really lucky, but I have pulled out wins, so I guess I'm sitting up here at number 2, but not number 1. That spot is reserved for the Norwegian Darmanitans. Because they're just playing out of their mind, and their team is ferocious, and I don't know. I feel like it's just, like, looking at their team just up front, it's just, they just counter so many. I mean, they have Psychic Terrain, but they also have, Tapu Lele, which is Fairy type, which is great against the Dark types, who are immune to the Expanding Forest, and then he's got the Urshifu, who's just a menace in this format. I mean, he has defensive, Pokemon. He's got support. He's got a really good all-around team, and he's a great prepper, great player. So I don't think any of us are surprised that he's still number 1. And until he has probably a really bad set, he's probably going to sit there, I'm guessing.
Well, he and that number 3 spot, Gumi, play this week. So for the live premiere. So somebody's getting dethroned out of this top 5.
Could the winner take the number 1 spot or remain in the number 1 spot? Yeah.
Who knows? The winner could very likely be number 1 because we got to take that into account. If your Gumi's playing the number 1 team and if he gets a 2-0, that could slingshot him ahead of you.
That's true. That's very true. And I don't know. It's going to be a crazy week again. And then some of these teams who have had some bad luck are just waiting to get a big win probably in this upcoming week. So I'm going to try to watch more matches. Thanks, Goomer, for watching all the matches so that we could talk about them all. But
yeah, there's a lot to keep. There are a lot to keep track of for sure. I didn't always remember all the details to the matches because there are so many of them. But what I will say is all of them that I watched were super fun to watch, and we've had some really good games this season. And so, yeah, I'm just excited. Every time there's content, I'm excited because I know it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Same. I love watching all the games. All right. Well, I guess that's the end of the video. Unless you have kind of a closing statement, Goomer. Yeah, this is week 2, and I guess best of luck to everybody in week 3, except for the Manitans, because I want to beat you, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck. We'll see ya.
All right. Peace out.